All right, everybody, and welcome to Hard Rock History, episode 14. Is it 14 or 15, Tommy?
Believe it's 14.
Oh, 14. Oh, boy, we're getting up there. All right, and today, I always say that, but today, this is royalty. We have a man who is was an Iron Maiden, Lionheart, Praying Mantis. They just have a new documentary called Burning Ambition about Iron Maiden. And I can proudly say is an inductee in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame class of 2026, Mr. Dennis Stratton. And for that,
Hey,
we applaud you, sir.
thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Dennis, it's 8
Nice to meet
o'clock
you,
in the
mate.
morning here in New York time. And it
What
is
time? What time is it?
8 a.m., sir.
Oh, that's late.
Listen, I would have been if you told me to be here at 2 o'clock in the morning, I would have been here for you.
Fantastic.
So let's you just got back you just played a couple of gigs, right, with a couple of Iron Maiden fan bands.
I was out in Belgrade, yeah, Serbia. Yeah, I've never been. It was absolutely brilliant. Absolutely fantastic.
And what do? They contact you that they want you to come out and perform with them. How's that work?
Yeah, this has been going on for, I would say, since 2005, 2006, something like that. The very first time I got contacted by an Italian friend of mine called Marco Gamba. He's written books. He spends most of his life in the jungle with orangutans. That's his normal job.
Wow.
But he's into his heavy music, and he's a collector of albums. He's done a couple of books on Maiden, and he's been involved with them since the early days when I was there. So, and he contacted me and said there was a band in Italy called the Clairvoyants, and they do the whole Maiden show. Whatever albums you want to play, they play it. And their manager Fulvio works at Live Club. He did work at Live Club in Milan. So they flew me over there, and basically what we do before I go is that if they want, they can send me a clip of them playing. There's no need, or a YouTube clip or whatever. But most of the people I work with are really, competent musicians, top class.
Mm-hmm.
And when I remember the first gig I did with the Clairvoyants, which was in Live Club in Milan, and there were like 3 support bands. It was a big show, 1,500 people, and I remember going on stage, and what happens is they go on stage for about 45, 50 minutes. They can play any Iron Maiden songs they want. It doesn't matter. But then when I go on, we stick to one. We stick to get rid of that. We stick to my one set that I do, which is the whole of the first album, and then we do some tracks that I already worked on Killers, Rothschild, and other stuff that we do from Killers, and also the song Killers.
Mm-hmm.
And then, what with the magic of the internet, people saw this on YouTube, and since 2006, 7, whatever, I get people contacting me from as far as like Australia, South Africa, all over Europe, anywhere, and it's fantastic because you limit to in Italy I have 2 bands that I work with. One is Children of the Damned, and the other one I've only done one show with them, so their name slips me at the moment, but it may come back to me. But this is the first time in Serbia, so mostly I travel around Europe, which is like Holland, Germany, France, Spain, and Italy, and they're all fantastic musicians. So this trip last week or the week before was the very first time in Serbia, in Belgrade, and the band were fantastic. Rainmaker, they do a lot of shows over that area in that part of the world. And funny enough, the bass player Nicola, sent me a photo this morning with him and Steve Harris in a beach bar watching West Ham yesterday.
Oh wow! And
So it's a small world.
how many gigs would you do just to go out to Serbia? Like how many shows
We
would
only
that
had
be?
the one. We
Only
only did
one.
the one.
Okay.
It was the first time, so we had to go through quite a lot of stuff earlier on. Like we go through the set list, and then the fine tuning starts with who's going to play this, who's going to play that. Most of the guitarists that play with me know that I'll be doing my parts from YouTube clips from the early days, from 1979, 1980. So they're already well prepared, and then I get there. We got funny enough this time. It was like a mini holiday because we got there on the Wednesday. The weather was fantastic, and we went to the Belgrade film premiere of Burning Ambition
Hmm.
on Thursday night, where I was guest of honor, which was out of this world. A red carpet treatment, felt like a royal family visiting Belgrade, and Friday we have the rehearsal, and then Saturday's the show, and Sunday after lunch we fly home. So it was like a mini break for me and my wife Jules. So it was great, really good, and the
And
band were really good.
you were also at the UK premiere, right? With all the guys
Yeah,
there.
that was on Tuesday in Leicester Square. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. And how'd your feelings about the documentary itself? I saw it on the Thursday here in
yeah.
the States when it premiered.
Right.
You
Yeah,
had a
yeah,
really
yeah.
nice crowd, a lot of Maiden shirts, a lot of fans, and we thoroughly enjoyed it. What were your thoughts about it?
I think I agree with quite a lot of the fans that have been voicing their opinions on social media. Um, First of all, I'm not sure what points I saw in the press and on the press releases that Steve wasn't happy with it. I haven't spoken to Steve about it. We're just talking about West Ham and staying in the Premiership division at the moment. But I spoke to him last night and this morning regarding the football. But we haven't spoken about the film. I don't discuss stuff like that with Steve. But overall, I agree with the fans. I thought they rushed the beginning of the band, the start of the band, uh, the early days. I think they
Hmm.
rushed through that a bit too fast. And as a lot of fans have said, which I do agree with, that they've seen all the modern stuff in documentaries and in films in the past, but they've never seen how it all started.
Right.
And felt a bit, when I was watching it, I felt a little bit sad the fact that when you take a very, very important part of the band into the band, like harmony guitars, um, it's hard for me not to be a little bit sad because we spent, before I joined Maiden, I was playing with RDB, Remus Down Boulevard, and we had harmony guitars. Both of us, me and Dave, played harmony guitars in every song. And so when I was asked to join Maiden, when Steve asked me, um, I then asked him and Dave in the pub when I met them, would you be all right with the harmony guitars? And they said, do whatever you can. We needed to get the band sorted because there was only three of them. Um, they didn't have a drummer, and as you know, past interviews and press releases, that it was me that took Clive into the band. But
Hmm.
unfortunately, the film leaves all that out. And as a lot of people said to me after the film, and also in Serbia, and also on social media, they said, how come they never mentioned about the technique of the starting the band from day one in Hollywood studios, going through all the cassette tapes and the Soundhouse tapes, going through all the songs that they had played live in pubs, clubs, with the old lineup. Um, it's a shame that we just didn't feature a bit more of that in the film. I know they have to cut things down to keep the film 2 hours or just under 2 hours or whatever it is. Um, but I think they just rushed through the early days a bit too quick. That's my opinion.
Did you do any voiceover for any of
No,
your
I
parts?
wasn't asked. No,
Okay, okay.
no.
Yeah, us too. And he likes even certain albums, even in the Dickinson area, they kind of blew by. Also, I guess like you say for time constraints. Yeah, it was very weird. They showed like a very limited amount of like you got the Rainbow playing, stuff like that in the beginning of it. But yeah, I can understand where people are
Yeah,
coming from.
the thing is, if I'd have gone and Adrian had come in and they didn't use the harmony guitars anymore, I can understand that as a period of the band which maybe never worked or they didn't like. But it wasn't. It was the fact that working on the harmony guitars on the first two albums and playing all the songs live on the Metal for Mothers tour in 1979 and playing wherever we did a headlining set, we had to play both albums. Um, when we were supporting with Kiss and Priest, it didn't matter because we only needed 45, 50 minutes.
Right.
But when you needed a full set of an hour and a half, we had to play both albums and some extra little songs that were on B sides. But if it was something they didn't want anymore, then I'd understand. But something that they've kept and gone into Adrian and Dave, and then gone took it further into Yannick, Adrian, and Dave, where the free part, it makes me feel fantastic because it's something that I took to the band and they kept.
Yeah, where you went
It's just
along
a
with it.
shame that the fans never got to see that.
Right.
One
So
of the
when
ironies I found in the whole movie is they really glazed over not only yourself but Clive Burr, who would you and Clive I thought were very instrumental in the initial what made the sound of the band. Yet they spent about a half hour on the Blaze Bayley period, which was really a dark era for Iron Maiden. They tried to make it seem like it was a little bit better than it really was. I mean, I saw
Well,
them. They were playing clubs in the States. That's how down they were. But they
well,
gave
the funny
Blaze
thing,
Bayley like a
yeah,
half hour, and they gave you guys like 5 minutes. Like it was absurd.
the funny thing you should say that because when you're watching it for the first time, it's a lot to take in. But because I had the pleasure of watching it twice on a Thursday as well in Belgrade, there was things that I missed on the Tuesday that I picked up on the Thursday.
Mm.
And you're correct because um, I felt I'd never met Blaze before until we got on the red carpet, and Blaze was in front of me, and he turned around and we had a cuddle, a hug, and we had some photos done together, and we sang, we finally meet after all these years, and we had a long chat. It was great, but at the same time, I felt watching the film, I felt sorry, really sorry for Blaze because the way it was narrated, it was as if the minute Blaze joins the band, they go downhill. People start burning records.
Right.
People start talking about this devil cult, and then they're playing clubs. And I thought, hold on a minute, this is angling towards. It sounds like that Blaze is getting the blame for the band going downhill,
hmm
which it was nothing like that. Blaze did, I think it was 3 albums, really good albums, and as Steve said to me on the phone, he contributed towards them albums. So you got to take your hat off to Blaze to walking into the boots of Bruce and then trying to pick up where Bruce left off. It's a killer job, and the way that was portrayed was like, oh, now they're playing in clubs, and then the punchline was when Bruce came back and Steve said, why do you want to come back? He went, because I'm fed up playing small shows. I want to play big shows. So it was if the minute Bruce come back, the band was massive again.
Right.
It didn't sort of like gel in a friendly kind of way, if you know what I mean. But that's why I don't want the Maiden family or the Maiden fans saying it's sour grapes or he's got the other because he's got the other. I haven't. It's a film for the fans. I'm proud of what I did in Maiden first couple of years, and also what I took into it, and working on them early songs. Because yes, in 1979, it's said many times that the band was very punky and very aggressive, and that's how we liked it. But it still had to have a bit of class, and that's when separating them guitars and adding a couple of little vocal harmonies. That's when you start making the songs a bit more interesting, not so punky, not so raw, and that's what I'm pleased about. That the fact is, we worked on them first two albums, and I think they come out pretty well. So, as I say, the film is fantastic for fans, but for me, just a little bit sad that they rushed through the early days. That's all.
Wait, you got something, Tommy? I got something.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask Dennis something quick because it ran through my mind. In the Bruce Dickinson book, it's written that Rod Smallwood wanted you out of the band because you were very into like American bands like Foreigner and Boston and Styx, and he thought that your influence would start to carry down into the other band members and change the sound of the band. Is there truth to that?
No, the truth is, yes, I loved American bands. The truth is, when I first met Rod, we didn't really see eye to eye. I was older than the rest of the band. I had a wife and a child, a daughter, Carly. And off we went on tour. Everything was fine. But then what started to happen was, because the band were quite young and new, Rod wanted to keep the whole band together, wrap them in cotton wool, keep them out of the way of everything, keep together all the time. And years before I joined Iron Maiden, I was on tour with Status Quo all over the world, Europe, Scandinavia, and I used to travel with the crew, the road crew. I used to jump in one of the 50-foot lorries with one of the truck drivers just to see the countryside. I used to jump in a car with someone from the record company. It was trying to make something different every day by life on the road. That's what I did. Me and Dave Lights used to share a room together, and we were a little bit outrageous. We used to like going out and having a laugh and partying. That was wrong. The worst thing was, on the Kiss tour, I got on very well with Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley. Rod didn't like that very much. The second thing that happens is, I like listening to music in my hotel room, and I carry around a little system that I play. And it was the Little River Band, it was the Eagles, it was George Benson, it was Whitesnake, it could have been any, Kansas, Toto, Foreigner, Journey, or any band I like listening to with melody, harmonies, whatever. And then that was wrong. And so something started to get to a point where everything I did was wrong.
Rubbed him the wrong way. Rubbed him the wrong way, basically.
Traveling with the road crew, traveling with a couple of people from EMI in Germany, that was wrong. And he pulled me up, and I'll tell you what it was. I was in the shower in the room, and I was listening to Soldier of Fortune by David Coverdale, one of my favorite songs. And he said to me afterwards, if people hear you listening to this music, they're going to think, you're not part of the band. And I said, what if I listened to Motorhead or thrash metal all day? How would my ears be? There was no answer to it. It became a bit of a problem. And then near the end of the Kiss tour, we had words again. And so when we came back, we did the video of women in uniform at the Rainbow Theatre. But I knew then that there was a problem, because I was getting blanked by, whatever. I think if you look back on it now, all these years later, when we've all grown up, it was very trivial. When we did part, I said to him, am I not doing my job properly? He went, you're doing your job better, more than what we could ever expect. It's just that you don't seem to be part of the band. You disappear, you go off on your own. Yeah, I said, I like my own space. I like my own company. I like having a walk around. I like traveling with the truck drivers and the crew. And I said, there's one big important thing. I said to Rod that if you try and put 5 guys in a room for a long time, some of them are tired, some of them have got a hangover, there's going to be an argument. There's going to be trouble. You need to have your bit of space. And it wasn't a big thing. It was just one of those things where he wouldn't let it go. He stopped me seeing it. I was in London and I said, would it be all right if I went home to see my wife and my daughter? He said, no, you stay here with the band at the hotel. So I went home anyway. And I thought, listen, it's like being back at school. So basically that was the start of the end, if you know what I mean. The arguments carried on. And then when we come back from the Kiss tour, that's when we parted company. So yeah, it was shame. I was upset. The fact that it could have been so much easier, just without all the strict rules, if you know what I mean. But he understood as we could. I met him in '84 at the Rainbow in Los Angeles. I was there doing the Hot Tonight album with Lionheart in Sound City, and we went to the Rainbow, and Rod was there, and we had a beer together, and everything was forgotten. But yeah, I think it was just early days and a little bit immature or naive on all parts.
When you walked in, they had 3 songs. The Soundhouse tapes happened, right? They had Iron Maiden, Invasion, and Prowler. Was the material that you worked on for the first album, was it there, or were you conceiving it with them?
When I first joined the band,
Yeah, like, Remember Tomorrow,
well,
Strange World, Transylvania.
no, there was about 40 songs.
Oh, wow.
You got to remember that Iron Maiden were touring in the UK or around Great Britain for quite a few years from '75.
Mm-hmm.
I was playing with RDB Resin at the Bridge House and on tour with Status Quo. So they'd done their groundwork, and they'd built up a huge fan base. Sometimes they were even playing 3-piece. They didn't have a second guitarist. But when I met them, Dave and Steve used to come down and watch me play, but I didn't know who they were. They used to stand in the back of the pub and watch me play, and then they'd wave and I'd wave. I didn't know their names. I didn't know who they were. And then when I got asked to join, the band, I had to go to the Ship at Wardour Street, which used to be still there now, here next to the Marquee, which is gone. And I walked into the Ship at Wardour Street, and there's these 2 guys sitting there from the Bridge House. And I went, oh, it's you 2. So I sat down, and Steve and Dave introduced themselves, and we started talking about them coming down to watch me. And then it all came out, we've just signed a deal with EMI, and we're looking for a guitarist, singer, backing vocals that can contribute towards what we're doing. And I said, perfect. I've never heard it before. That night, they gave me a couple of cassettes. I think there was about 12 songs on it. I went home. That was when I realised it was very powerful, very bit punky, especially with Paul's low registered growling voice. And yeah, very mono with the one guitar or 2 guitars playing rhythm. Then I went to Hollywood Studios a few days later, and I'd worked on a few of the songs. And then I started talking about the harmony guitars and the harmony riffs that we could put in a song rather than just power chords, which is when we started progressing with the harmony guitars. It was only after 3 or 4 days we were running through, just the 3 of us, me, Steve, and Dave, instrumentally, just getting used to how the songs are going to go. And then I noticed the drum kit, and I said, hey, have you not got a drummer? They said no. And so I said, I've got a couple of drummers I know, but I bumped into Clive first because we used to have a beer together in East London. And I said to Clive, look, I've just joined this band, Iron Maiden. Are you interested? He went, yeah. He said, I'm always interested. So I played him in the car, played him a couple of songs on the tapes. And I said, I'll have a word with Steve. And so the next day when I went into the studio, I said to Steve, look, I've got this drummer. Shall I bring him down? He said, yeah. So he came down the next day, Clive, and he'd already listened to a couple of songs on the cassettes. And so then we run through it. And that was that. And so basically we were rehearsing for the Metal for Mothers tour, which when then Steve came into the studio with these tapes, quite a lot of cassette tapes, and a list of songs. And so I said, right, these are the stuff, this is the stuff you've been doing before this lineup was put together. And he said, yeah. So we're going to pick the bones out of this. We're going to select them, whatever. Steve already had his mind set on the first album, the songs for the first album. And so we were rehearsing them songs first. So they would be more together, tighter than anything else. And then, because we were headlining the tour, Metal for Mothers, with Praying Mantis supporting us, we then had to work on, I imagine, it was songs from Killer's album, unbeknown to me, because this was all new to me. So we were working on material, so we had an hour and a half of songs, plus, say, 2 encores. That's what we rehearsed. So probably about 24 songs, 23, something like that. We rehearsed that for a few weeks. Deano come down and started putting the voice down. All the time I was progressing with the harmony stuff, especially with Phantom of the Opera, and other stuff like Running Free, that we wanted more and more harmony guitars on because it was going to be a single.
Mm-hmm.
And then off we went on the Metal for Mothers tour for about 2-3 weeks. And then the record company said, the tour's got to stop because you need to go and record the first album. Because it was advanced orders from all the fans that give EMI this date because it had to come out by a certain date. So we suspended the tour of Metal for Mothers, went straight into the studio, fell back on the 9, or how many songs are on it, 9 or 10, fell back on them 10 favourite songs, and then we recorded it pretty quickly. And then after that, we went back on the Metal for Mothers tour. So we then brought all the other songs back to make the set an hour and a half. And that's how we started on that. The first 9 months of getting the band together after Christmas, I don't think we had a day off. It was just manic. And then, of course, we went out in Europe and did some shows. Then we went on the Judas Priest tour, back to a 45-minute set. Then we went on the Kiss tour, back to a 50-minute set, and so on. So, that, as I say, that first year and 3 months or whatever it was just manic, unbelievable.
And how was it with you and Murray trading off? Did you go, okay, you do this part, I'll do that part, or were you guys in sync? How did that work out with you?
No, Dave was there before me, so it's only out of respect that he's the main man. He doesn't sing. He's just a lead guitarist. Very rarely plays any rhythm guitar. But Dave's always got a big smile on his face. He's never very quiet guy. And it was only me finding out, like, for instance, on Phantom or on Transylvania or any of the songs that have got 2 solos. Rothschild, he would do the intro solo. He would do the middle solo. There are other songs where if there was 2 solos in the song, I would always say to him, Dave, you're the main man. Will you do the first solo? He'll go, yeah. And I'll say, I'll do the second solo. And basically, any harmonies, we just used to sit in the rehearsal studio and just say, so you fancy doing something on this part of the song? and he would just smile and go, yeah, you know, and we'd work out what part he would prefer to play or what part I play. If I played the root of the harmony, he would play the harmony, whatever the riff was. So yeah, it was all went really, really well. And Steve was fantastic. He'd come in the studio and go, "Oh, that sounds good. That's coming together well." And then that's how it all started to sort of grow, if you know what I mean.
And what songs were you working on with Killers before you left?
It was all the songs because we were playing them live.
Oh wow, wow.
So
Okay,
that's what I say. A
so
lot of people,
your thumbprint is there for that
yeah,
album.
yeah. But what a lot of people don't realise is when they say Killers is a second album, it doesn't matter. When we were doing the live set, as I say, an hour and a half of songs, the songs were already done. The songs were already written. They just needed working on for two guitars plus the harmonies and a bit of vocal. The basic track was already there. They were sometimes doing it as a free piece. So there was no harmony guitars. There was just a solo like a Hendrix setup. So when it come to doing the first album, there were all the songs for 1.5 hours, and I would be sitting there and I'm thinking, wow. And Steve would select these 9 or 10 songs for the first album, and I would say, but this, Steve, the songs on this list. He said, but we need songs for the second album. Oh, I wasn't even thinking about the second album. We haven't even recorded the first album yet, but he was well ahead. And so I went, oh, now, okay, now I understand. Because EMI had signed them for quite a few albums. I get it now. The fact was, yeah, they're his favourite 9 songs, 10 songs. That's the first album. Now we can concentrate on these songs for Killers. And that's what happened because we were playing them live every night, you know.
I got a book here. I don't know if you ever seen it. The Reading performances.
I don't think so.
Oh, this can we talk about Reading a little bit too?
Yeah, yeah.
This There's some great shots. There you are.
I've seen the photos.
Uh-huh.
I've seen the photos on Reading, but I've not seen that book because it's all Ross Halfin, isn't it?
Neil Daniels made the book. Yeah.
No, I meant the photographs.
Oh, the good.
Oh, I don't know what the photo credit is on
Yeah,
here.
it's got to be.
Yeah, I think Ross Halfin, I think.
You like this? This is a great shot of you too. Then that's
Yeah, yeah. I've got that indoors at home.
amazing
Yeah.
shot. And let me ask you, the outfit. What was everybody else was kind of leather and stuff like that. What was your choice for this outfit? What was going on there?
I don't know, really. It was just something to be different. Like, I quite like the Japanese kimonos because they're loose fitting and they look pretty good. But the two lots of stuff I had was one was black leather with white kimono, and the other one was one was black leather with black kimono, and the other one was red leather with white kimono. And I noticed that Glenn Tipton was years and years ago before I joined Maiden. I recognised him in a photo with red leathers and a white baggy shirt, and I thought that don't look too bad.
Mm-hmm.
Again, Rod didn't like it. That upset him as well. So,
And was that your biggest gig at that time too?
no, before Reading, my biggest gig was with Status Quo, all over Europe. 100,000 people, 80,000 in stadiums. But I imagine for Maiden, yes, for me, because the Metal for Mothers tour was, small venues. I'd say 1,200, 1,500, maybe 800, 900. So when we come to do the Reading, that was the biggest gig for us. And then, of course, going out with Kiss, again, they were big shows, but it was nice because I'd already experienced it with Quo, and it was nice to just go out there on them big stages. And also, what I did notice when people say You might even ask the question if you what you know if you ever foresee Maiden becoming huge. It wasn't until we were on the Kiss tour, because in England it's so small and you're smothered. But when you get out to Europe, and what I noticed was on the Kiss tour, because it was through the summer, when we got to Italy or anywhere in Europe, when everyone's outside the venue, a big football stadium, and they're all sitting on the grass or they're all queuing up for t-shirts or in the bars, a lot of them were wearing Maiden t-shirts. And that was when I first realised that we all got excited because we were on the tour bus as we were driving into the football stadium. And we all looked out the window and went, wow, because we hadn't seen so many people with Maiden shirts on before. So only the Rainbow or Hammersmith Odeon or again Reading. So yeah, it was quite a surprise. That was when we knew that the band was reaching further and further afield.
It just so happened that day too that Samson was playing on the same bill, and they were checking
Yeah,
out Bruce there.
yeah. Well, I don't know whether or not they were checking out Bruce in 1980. I think, yeah, I don't know. Everyone, I think they went and saw him after. I don't know, could have been, but as I say, yeah, I did have any reservations about Paul's range, but it was nothing to do with me. So yeah.
And let me ask you about the mascot Eddie too. Did you find it appealing, or was it like what the hell's going on? And especially when you were doing the live show and the guys coming
Yeah.
out in a mask and the whole leather
Well,
jacket.
the funny thing is, you can see it in some of the old photographs. The funny thing is, because I was really good mates with Dave Lights, and as I say, we used to room together. When I first joined the band, and Dave and Loopy and Pete came down the studio, and Dave had these mad eyes, and he was always making things. Yeah, he was boxes from the market, fruit boxes and orange boxes and things like that. And he was saying to me, I'm working on modernising Eddie. So I said, all right. So then the first couple of gigs we did, it was like a mask. Well, all of a sudden, I'm still in '79 now, just beginning of the Metal for Mothers tour. And all of a sudden, he came out with his big head, and it was just like a skull, plaster of Paris skull with a mouth open and two eyes. And he was just crazy, Dave. And I remember him getting it all together. And he got this lump of wood, 4x4 square bit of wood, and he laid it down on the floor in the studio. And he's hammering it. And almost like we lift it up, and there's the head on the top of 4 lump of wood going up. And then he put lights in the skull and smoke bombs coming out of his mouth. And that was our backdrop for that first year on all the Metal for Mother tour gigs. I think it's also at the Lyceum where the shot is on the back of the album, the first album. I think that's the skull. Can't remember. Anyway, it lasted all year. It was fantastic. And we used to laugh about it. And then when we did the album, the first album, Rod got involved with Derek Riggs, and he said, I've got this guy coming. He's going to do some artwork for the front cover of the album. And then, of course, we saw the mock-up stuff that came. It was, wow, this is good. This is amazing. Flicking for albums, and you see that. And then I was sitting with Dave, and he said, and Rod said, so what are we going to call him? So Dave looked at him and said, what do you mean, what are we going to call him? He said, well, he needs to have a name. And Dave said, he's got a name. His name's Eddie. Why is he called Eddie? He said, because it's an Ed.
There you go. That's great.
I went, that's genius, Dave. Eddie the Ed. because he just stuck on a bit. Yeah. So Eddie became Eddie, not Fred. So
Wow, that's awesome.
it was funny. You know, some of the things that Dave used to do was hilarious. And I must say, you know, some of his rigs that after I'd left and Adrian was in, luckily for me, Adrian didn't change much for the Killers album because it was already basically pre-done. He just had to, you know, play what he wanted to play, which was that album, and kept it just as it was, which was nice. It was nice of him to do that. But some of the rigs I saw that are the lighting rigs after, you know, 82, 83. Some of the stuff that Dave done was amazing, you know. So, but yeah, funny enough, I saw Dave lights at last Tuesday at Leicester Square for the red carpet. Yeah.
Now, moving on, did you take a break? Because I know Lionheart was the next real band that you did, right? So, did you feel like forming a band, or you approached how did Lionheart happen?
Jess Cox from the Tigers of Pantang. No, the minute it was about 2 weeks after when it came out in Sounds newspaper that I wasn't in the band anymore. Jess contacted me and said, "Look, I'm no longer with Tigers of Pantang." And I said, "Oh, wow." He said, "I'm thinking of putting a band together." So I went, "Oh, great." He said, "You fancy coming in?" I went, "Yeah." So he came and stayed with us a little while in East London, and then I contacted Rocky Newton, and then he contacted Steve Mann, and then we all met up. But it was a bit of confusion because we didn't know why Jess wanted to form this band because they were doing all right with the Tigers. But what the problem we had was that my kind of style of music has always been from your Toto days, from the Journey, from Kansas, Sticks, them sort of like the AOR, big harmonies, big melodies. And when we put Lionheart together, we were trying to change the way of writing away from the heavy metal because you're talking about now it's 1981, 82. Maiden had gone off, Saxon had gone off, Def Leppard had gone off, and the other bands were all left behind. Motorhead was thriving, and so we said, look, I've been told what to do for so long. I'd like to write songs that we want to play, so and we enjoy it. So and Steve and Rocky were totally in agreement, which is unusual. Where you get three guys that just love the same sort of music and the big harmony vocals and the harmony guitars and catchy choruses, you know. And so we got in the studio and then Jess was singing these songs that we were working on, but his voice didn't match the stuff. He didn't have a range. His range was really lower than Paul's, a lot lower. And we were worried the fact that me, Rocky, and Steve were doing these backing vocals in 3-part harmony, Rocky the high one, me in the middle, and then Steve at the bottom. But we were drowning him out, and the voice didn't match the songs that we were writing. So, of course, it didn't last. I think it was like a couple of months, and Jess said, "Well, it's not working." I said, "I don't think it is, mate, because we need a vocalist that can, you know, your Steve Perry or your, you know, Lou Graham or David Coverdale or something that's going to get over our 3-part harmony choruses." So Jess went, and that was the start of the problems with Lionheart because we couldn't find a singer here. We were in the studio writing songs nearly every day. It was a 9-to-5 job. We had a studio at Lily Yard near Fulham Broadway with our managers, and we were downstairs. Hans Zimmer used to work downstairs in the studio as well because all his equipment was there. So we sat up in the ground floor studio, and we had an 8-track and a 4-track. We were writing all these songs, but we couldn't find a singer, and it took years we auditioned loads, and we just couldn't get a singer. Every time we got someone like John Sloman, he was working with Gary Moore. It was just frustrating until beginning of '84 or end of '83. Chad come along, Chad Brown. We stuck his voice down on a recording, sounded good. So that was when we signed to CBS and went to Los Angeles to Sound City to do the first album. Otherwise, we would have started a lot earlier, but we just couldn't get a singer.
Now, this first album is still to this day revered as an AOR classic. Like, to me, it's still one of the greatest AOR albums ever recorded. And
Brilliant. Well, thank you.
Brown was, I thought, a phenomenal singer. How did he only last, as far as I know, he's only appeared on the one album with you guys. Yeah. He's never appeared on anything else. What happened to him?
Well, I think what happened to us was that when we got in the studio with Kevin Beamish, Chad started singing slightly different, more like Michael Jackson. We loved the low register and the mid register on his voice because he had a great vibrato. But he's going up high, which was great with the screams. And when he's but then Kevin was getting him to go higher. And when we were listening to some of the playbacks after the recording, we started getting worried that he was getting too high. And but apart from that, when the album was finished, we went to New York to see CBS in their big chairman's office, and they said to us that when this album comes out, we're going to be touring with REO Speedwagon because of the connection with Kevin Beamish. We're going to be returning. We're going to be touring with Kansas. We're going to be touring with this band, that band, and the guy from CBS said to me, "So, what are you going to do when you get home?" I said, "I'll tell you what we don't want to do when we get home. And that is to sit on our arse and do nothing. So if you're true to your word, we need to get back out as soon as this album comes out." He went, "Yeah, most definitely." And nothing happened. Whether it was bad timing, whether it was just coincidence, whether it was the fate of God, I don't know. It was just REO Speedwagon had to go and REO Speedwagon had to go and re-record their album or remix it. Kansas had to do something with their album, so both albums were delayed coming out, so the tours were cancelled. It was just one disaster after another. And when we got home, which was, I say, the end of '84 then, we waited and waited and waited, nothing. And then Chad started going into pop stuff. I think he might have entered the Eurovision Song Contest thing, but I never saw him again. I went after David Coverdale, and thankfully, because I know him, he put Lionheart on one of the UK tours over here, about 85, 86. And yeah, so we were scratching. We were at a loss. And then I think Rocky and Steve got the chance to do a couple of tours with Michael Schenker, which they did. I got asked to join Mantis, so I never saw Chad again. So I don't really know. I heard that he'd become a second-hand car dealer.
Mm. So were you supposed to support REO or Kansas on that
Any
tour?
one of them.
Okay.
Back in '84, that was what the record company said, that there would be tours coming up, and we want to push you and get this album out. And we got home and then nothing.
Gotcha.
You know, it could have been false information. They could have told us anything. We're in the UK and they're in America. We wouldn't know. So very frustrating for us. We lasted another couple of years doing different tours. As I say, Rocky and Steve went with Schenker. And then Tino phones me and said, "Look, they want us to go to Japan. They want Prayer Mantis to put back together again with a different lineup. So it will be him and Chris the Troy brothers, me, a drummer, keyboard player, and a singer. Which then we went to Japan, and then they wanted to do his concept album with Maiden Lionheart, Praying Mantis songs, a collaboration with Paul Diano. So in 1990,
The album.
we went to Japan and did the Live at Last album, but that was only that one trip. And then when we came back, that was when the record company approached me, Tino and Chris, and said, "Look, we really love what you did. We'd like you to put Praying Mantis back together again with a drummer and a singer. Are you interested?" And we said, "Yeah." And we signed to the record company, me, Tino, Chris, Bruce Bisland, and Colin Peel at the time. And we did, I think, 7 albums, different lineups. Unfortunately, again, it was the Lionheart curse of singers. We couldn't get a singer because the lineup, me, Tino, and Chris, was an identical lineup to me, Rocky, and Steve. The same vocal harmonies, the same parts, similar songs, with the harmony guitars. It just didn't work. Every singer we got either had to go or doing something else. So we did every album, apart from Tony O'Hora, did the only time we've used the same lineup with the drummer and the singer was 2 albums, which was Nowhere to Hide and the other one slips my mind. But Tony O'Hora was the same singer. Everyone else was either Gary Barden, some guy with long blonde hair, I can't think of his name.
Colin Peel?
No, he was the first one, short blonde hair.
Mark Thompson Smith.
Mark Thompson Smith?
Yeah.
Yeah, long curly hair. We had Gary Barden. We had Doogie White come and do a tour with us. So many different singers, the same old curse again. And funny enough, 15 years went by like that. It was, we did about 7 or 8 albums. Great time with Mantis. Good people, good friends. We bounced off of one another. Everyone has their moods and their tired little tantrums, but you get over that. But we were really, like me, Rocky and Steve, really good together, and still are now. It was only the record company closing down their rock department and concentrating on hip hop. Otherwise, I don't know how long we would have gone on for, but that was in 2004 or 2005. That was the start of the decline of the record company. So that was when we decided to part company. And I think Tino and Chris had a break, and then they started up again with some other guys, which I introduced them to. Yeah.
Dennis, I did want to ask you about one album in particular, which is my personal. I've been a Praying Mantis fan from the early 80s.
Yeah.
But my own personal favorite album was Cry for the New World with Colin Peel, another guy with a phenomenal voice who only appeared on one Praying Mantis album and never appeared on anything. I had heard he was a stage actor. I don't know if that's true or not.
Yeah,
you could tell us about that album, because the songwriting on that album is phenomenal. His voice was incredible. It's just a brilliant album.
Yeah, I agree. It was strange because his wife was Gabby Roslin. She is a TV and radio presenter. She was doing a lot of work on TV. Now, Colin, before he came into Mantis, was in a film with, I am the one and only, what's his name? Short blonde hair guy. Can't think. No, it'll come to me. But he had the one and only single, number 1. He was in a film with him. I can't remember the name of the film. And Colin was breaking his neck to try and get out of doing stage stuff so he could do Mantis.
We
And
talk Chesney Hawks.
yes, Chesney Hawks, got it. And so he used to come to rehearsals. Then he did the album, which was great, but he had to keep trying to get time off. And then when the album was finished, this is the bit I can't remember. I don't think he could come to Japan with us. I think what happened, he did the album came out, and then the record company said, right, we need you on tour. He couldn't do it because his dates clashed with his acting, and he wanted to pursue his acting career. That was the end of that with Prey and Mantis. Since then, I think they've parted, him and Gabby. But I don't know what he's doing now. But yes, we tried to get him to do the second album, even if he couldn't do the tour. I can't remember who we took on that tour instead of him now. That might have been Doogie White. I don't know. But yeah, it was hard. Again, as I say, it's the Lionheart vocal curse that it must be me that involved with both bands have had the problem with vocalists. It's a killer, you know, because you get the band all settled and it's sounding really good, and then the singer, unfortunately, I can't do that anymore. So you're back to square one again. So yeah, that I don't know what Connie's doing now, but I agree with you. My daughter on the front cover with her eye, yeah, that's it. Yeah, but yeah, it's yeah, I like all the Prey and Mantis albums. Power of 10 was a little bit of a struggle, but yeah, Nowhere to Hide and Somewhere in Time, they're my favourite too, with Tony O'Hara singing. Yeah.
So my favorite is Power of 10 because I'm a huge Gary Barton fan. So you say it was a struggle. How did Gary Barton get into the band as it was?
Gary, how can I say this? Tino and Chris have worked with Gary for many, many years on different projects. I always knew Gary struggled doing live shows with his voice. Sometimes it would give in, sometimes it wasn't there. They did mention about taking him to Japan a couple of times earlier on in our life, but we decided against it. But then we did the Power of 10, which was a struggle because the record company thought we were changing the direction of music. There's a couple of songs on there like a bit 12-barish where I'm playing slide. They didn't like, the record company didn't like that. They liked the old Prey and Mantis, big choruses, big chants.
Well, it really didn't sound like Praying Mantis for the most part, the album itself. It was kind of
Tommy.
It really didn't sound like a traditional Praying Mantis album.
Exactly.
And I never really thought, even though I'm a fan of his also, Gary Barton, I never thought he was a real good fit for that band.
No, as I say, I was always concerned about, in the studio, it was fine because he could keep taking a break. And Norman, who produced the album with us and engineered it, he had a lot of time to work with him. So it was okay. But then taking him to Japan, our worst nightmare came true. We were doing a couple of nights at where was it, Sun Plaza or wherever it was. We were doing the Live in Tokyo DVD, and his voice started to give in then. And so it was like, again, the curse of Lionheart. I was always worried about his performance live, but in the recording studio, great voice. He worked really well with Schenker and other bands that I've seen him with. But yeah, but my favourite vocalist was always Tony O'Hara because of the power, and we did Wacken together, Wacken Festival, and he could last, all night. His voice was strong. But that's the problem. If you get a singer that overdoes it or too much talking or too much shouting, laughing, smoking, it's going to give in, So that's why we were a little bit sad when we saw the recording of the Live in Tokyo DVD, because you could hear it in his voice. It's
Oh yeah.
straining, you know.
And is it fun of all the albums that you did? That's the one you make a live album with.
I think it was a mixture. Live in Tokyo was a
Yeah.
compilation thing with all different albums. Yeah.
No, but I'm saying of all the singers and everything like that, that's the
Or
one that
see,
you do the live album
yeah.
with.
I yeah, you can speak to Tino and Chris about that. They decided, but it was one of them things where I think um, the singers that we'd had previously, like Tony, Mark Thompson Smith, Doogie, I think by that time they were all settled in other bands, and we were struggling to find someone who would be able to do the gig, you know. So I don't really know the politics of it because I left it up to Tino and Chris because they knew how I felt about different singers.
And what was the idea behind doing the original Iron Man? Was it you had a little break also that way, and you reached out with Paul?
No, it was nothing to do with it. I didn't do it. Um, it was a big con.
Oh, no
Um,
kidding.
yeah. So it's 1992, 93. I'm governor of the Cart and Horses pub in East London, Stratford. And I've told this story 1,000 times, but people don't listen. So there was this guy who was supposed to be a friend of mine from East London called Lee Hart. And he says to me, he used to come in the pub where I run the Cart and Horses. And he said, look, while you're working with Praying Mantis, how about doing a little solo project, a little side project? I said, yeah, I've got time. I'm running a pub, I've got free time. He said, right, we've got these bunch of songs, a guy called Chris O'Shaughnessy. We're going to go in the studio and we want you playing guitar on it. We want you singing on it. And it'll be like a side project, but maybe like a little solo project. And we'll try and get like a solo album out. I went, yeah. So I spoke to Chris and Tino in Brad Mantis. Yeah, it's not a problem. It's not going to interfere with us. And so we go to all these different studios and I'm singing and I'm playing solos and all that. And he was getting all these songs together, collecting about 8 or 9 songs, 10 songs. And then I don't hear anymore. And I didn't think much of it. And then I get a phone call at the pub from Pony Canyon, from my record company, saying, asking me what, in a polite way, what am I doing? Releasing bootleg albums. And I went, I've no idea what you're talking about.
Mm.
And they said, well, you've recorded these bunch of songs. This guy, Lee Hart, has got Paul Di'Anno singing on some of these songs. And you're playing guitar, and it's gone out as the original Iron Man. I knew nothing about it.
Wow.
Tried to get hold of this guy, Lee Hart. He disappeared. So-called friend. And he then tried to blackmail the record company in Japan by asking for something like £5,000 or £10,000 to take the albums off the black market, and the record company wouldn't pay. So by the time I finished explaining to the record company that I was completely innocent and I didn't know anything about it, he had disappeared. And then I noticed that these albums keep reappearing and being re-released. And yeah, so
It's
I knew
streaming.
nothing about it.
It's on Apple iTunes right now with
Yeah,
your name, but both of your names still
yeah, I know.
so it's
Yeah,
unbelievable. How
yeah.
that can't be stopped, Dennis? There's no cease and
No,
desist on
I
this?
don't think so. No, I don't think so. I tried. Went to see a solicitor. He said, by the time you drag this through the courts, it's not worth any money. It's going to cost you a fortune.
Mm. So you
So,
got to let it be.
but what I do is when people bring these albums to my shows, wherever they are, and they want me to sign it, I just tell them, you do realise this, it's not me and Paul. I don't even know if Diano knew about the albums coming out, because I think he kept it from him as well.
Wow.
I don't know.
Okay.
But that's the strength of the guy. You know, he's a weasel. He's a rat. And, you know, if he comes unstuck, he gets all that he deserves.
Well,
But,
listen, if he
yeah.
was in Brooklyn, he would have been in the back of a trunk, if you know what I mean.
Well, funny enough, when I had the pub in Stratton in 1992, there were a couple of guys, may I say, quite big rugby players that were sitting outside his house.
Ready to take care of business.
Yeah, and he never went home. So we missed him. But yeah, I haven't seen him now for years and
Wow.
years and years. So, but yeah, that's the truth about the so-called original Iron Man.
Well,
But you know, I give the fans their due. I said it on social media. This is not me and Paul. This was a con. It's a scam, right? It is me playing. It is me singing. It is Paul singing, but not a project for the two of us.
right.
They turn around and say to me, the fans, as I'm signing it, it don't matter. The songs are great. It sounds great. And we like it. So I thought, okay, what else do you do? So you sign it and they'll have it.
That's nice of you.
It
Now,
is me. It is me playing. So
now you went back to Lionheart too. I love Second Nature. I think that's a great album.
yeah, that's what kicked it off again. Yeah.
And we had Steve Mann on a few shows ago. You guys did think about doing a live show again, some touring with them.
Um, Unfortunately, for Lionheart, you can't get all members in the same country, let alone the same room. Um, it's yeah, we did Second Nature, but the magic about Lionheart, we are so close together, all of us. And now with Lee Small singing, the voice is just exquisite. It's just amazing. And he's a great writer as well. The only problem we have is that if you go from Second Nature 2018 and then you go to 2020, so then we got uh, the reality of miracles, COVID. So we've written these songs. Steve's in the studio in Hanover. We're all at home because we can't go out. What do? Let's finish the album. Fantastic. So we all get on our laptops and we all start bouncing these things all around the world. Steve's sitting in the studio in the control room, taking everything in. And slowly we do the vocals, we do the guitars, we do everything ourselves, send them all to Steve. He sits there, puts the jigsaw together. He then mixes it all, masters it all. Then we have the album finished. The only reason that could be done is because we couldn't go outside the house for 18 months.
Right.
So then that's that. So now we know that this works with Reality of Miracles, and Steve done a fantastic job with the mastering and the mixing and the producing. We want to do another one, but then I'm sure it's the curse of Lionheart again. We come up with an idea with the grace of a dragonfly to celebrate the lives of people that went to war in the Second World War, knowing they wouldn't return. They would no way return. They would give their lives up for us and for other people. So great concept, great idea. Lee starts writing these fantastic lyrics about all these different meanings of the war, like Judgment Day and things like this, whatever it is. And it's a woman's war. It's little ships. It's everything to do with Dunkirk. Everything's to do with the war. And then all of a sudden, Russia decides to try and take Ukraine.
Right.
So we then spend months. We're recording the album, but with our record company, we're trying to keep the peace by saying, look, this is not about war. It's not glorifying war. This is a thank you. to celebrate the lives of people that went to war knowing they wouldn't return, people that the lost soldier, whatever they want to call it. This is to thank them. This is all about them giving their lives for other people. We finally got the point across, but again, COVID returns for a second round, and we're indoors again. Bit more easier, but no touring, no big crowds, no venues opening. So we were able to finish the Grace of a Dragonfly at home again because we'd already tried and tested it. We'd already done it once. We can do it again, and so that's what we did. And for the first time ever in my life and in Lionheart's life, was that we were getting comments on social media, magazines, radio, everything, all marking it 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10, 10 out of 10. But for the first time ever, the journalists were writing about the lyrics of the songs. They were writing about the production of the album. You never get journalists, they might listen to one or two songs and go, yeah, 7 out of 10, good album, that's it. But it proved that they were listening to the album all the way through, and they were listening to the production, which has never been heard of for a band. So we were right over the moon about that, and it got fantastic reviews for the songwriting, for the harmonies, everything. Steve's production, and then what happens again? Steve goes back out on tour with Schenker. And then I am flat out touring with Maiden United and other projects that I've got going all over the world. Lee's with Sweet, Andy Scott Sweet. Rocky's now doing bass for Grand Slam. And Clive's working with God knows who, with the Harry Slessor and everything else, UFO stuff and free stuff. So we've gone back to square one from 2018-19. You can't get the 5-6 members in the band in the same country, let alone in a rehearsal room.
Yeah.
So I can't see any live shows happening. We were cancelled Sweden Rock because we couldn't do it. And now we want to do another album. And I don't even think we're going to be able to do that because the rest of the band, see, you got to remember, Lionheart doesn't create an income.
Right.
So we have to earn some kind of income. It's what we do on the side projects that we get paid for. Same with Steve with Schenker, same with Lee with Sweet. So we have to survive. And so I don't think we're even going to get a new album this year because the tours that are coming up for Steve and everyone else, I'm going to Australia, Japan, South America, Chile. I'm doing Europe. You know, I can't see it, how we're going to fit it in.
Right.
So it's one of the things that will sit there for a little while, and then Steve will be in the studio for, say, for 3 or 4 months and go, right, let's do an album. And then we'll crack on it.
Yeah,
I just want to give a little commentary on the Grace of the Dragonfly. In my opinion, that is the best work that Lionheart has ever done.
I agree.
Just incredible. Yeah. The song Flight 19 is I think, one of the best written songs with one of the greatest hooks that I've heard in years.
Funny enough, that's what other fans have said to me about the little ships, because it's more commercial. And they said the Flight 19, because it's funny because I just hear that song. It's very catchy, but there are other musicians that said that's a great song, really. Yeah.
Brilliant song. The whole album is just incredible. When I heard this album the first time, every song clicked with me on the first time. I couldn't believe how good. I listened to it probably at least a dozen times. It's really a brilliant album, and I don't use that
term. Yeah, thank you. And we're really proud of it, I must admit. And again, done at home, you know, Cubase and WhatsApp messages, and Steve pieces it all together, you know. So
do you find that difficult to do that? Not being like in a studio face to face and running ideas?
No, because Steve's so good. Steve's so clever. You know, me and Rocky for was it Second Nature or was it Reality and Miracles? Me and Rocky drove to Germany and we did all the backing vocals together. But we found it had to be rushed because we had to come home and Steve had to do other work. Whereas when you're at home, the mic can be set up for 3 months. It doesn't matter. And you can, and the nice thing about this is when you've got a song with, there's one on that album on of Dragonfly. I went to doing some shows with Maiden United, and I was in Barcelona. So we had 5 days. Me and my wife Jules, we were on the beach, and we were flying straight to Edinburgh for the next show. And I had my headphones in, and I had to learn this really strange harmony, and it's something out of my comfort zone with the way the harmony moved in and out of the other notes. But once it was done, once it's tracked and you got 3-part, it was unbelievable. It was such a great effect, and that's all Steve's doing. You know, he sits there on the piano and he works it out. And so I was sitting there with my headphones on, annoying people around the pool. But by the time you get home, that's in your head now, and you go in the corner somewhere with the mic. Sometimes I come here at Ferry Cross Studio, where I am now, with a friend of mine owns it, and I do it here. Anywhere you want to go, you've got the backing track, so you can feel free to come here, or at my place, or another friend's house. We've set a mic up, and I'll just feel in my own comfort zone to do that harmony, so it's perfect, and track it again, so that Steve's happy. And once it's all blended in with the other vocals, as long as we make sure that we're strict on the timing and the phrasing, as you know, it's a dream. Really good.
2 more things, and we'll let you go. Me and Tommy are big Rory Gallagher fans, and I know you went on tour. Could you have any stories about Rory?
No, not many. When we were very young, sort of 19, 20, Dave, my partner who I work with, builds guitars, and he was the one that was lucky enough to meet up with Donald, Rory's brother, and did some gigs with Rory as a support band. And he used to work on Rory's guitar, the old girl, the Strat. And he got to know Rory pretty well. The only time I was, I was sort of like out of my element was every now and again, because me and Dave with RDB were resident at the Bridge House twice a week. We used to get guests come down and get up. So one week it would be Tony McPhee from the Groundhogs. And the next week it'll be, say, Chris Thompson from Man from Man's Earth Band. He would sing and play. And then one night, Rory turned up, and that was it. The jam lasted till about 2 o'clock in the morning. It was just incredible. He just don't know when to stop. And of course, Jerry McAvoy, his bass player, lived around the corner to the pub as well. So everyone was close to the pub, you know.
What a bass player.
I don't know Rory very well. Didn't know Rory very well.
Tommy, any questions from you?
No, I'm good.
You revealed something on social media about carton horses that you're going to reveal. What do you want to say on here? What you were talking about? You did a video. You said you did a video and we revealed what we were doing there a couple of days ago.
You lost me now. At the carton horses?
Yeah, there was a snippet of you saying that we're filming today, and we'll let you know what we were talking about.
Yeah. Have you not seen the videos?
Oh, so it did come out.
It's Maiden United playing at Nebworth.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And it's on the social media with Damien Wilson, the singer, and you got Maiden United. But we went there. We go there quite a lot. I'm playing there next month with another band who I help do their album with, Mickey Geggers from the Cockney Rejects. And he's got a new band now, Punch Drunk Saints. So I'm going down to Carton Horses I debt with them because I did the album with them. And there's 5 songs on the album that he needs 2 guitars. So I'm going to go down and play with them. But The reason why Maiden United were at the Cart and Horses was the fact that we had to film little bits, clips, so they're like little teasers for Nebworth.
Okay.
And the full video came out on Facebook 2 weeks ago, where we're all at the Cart and Horses. I'm behind the bar because I used to run the pub, and so they went, "You best go behind the bar." So I was back where I started in '92, and yeah, it's a fun video because no one knows what's going on until the end, and so the whole band are there, and yeah, we filmed it for, as I say, for an advert to promote Nebworth.
All right, one last thing. Now the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Are you coming in? First of all, I'm glad that you're included.
So am I.
You know, and I
After
know,
all these years.
and I know you were a real cheerleader in the beginning to try to get those votes for everybody to.
Oh, not really. Unfortunately, I was already told by the gods above that Maiden didn't want it. So I understood that. A lot of people, a lot of magazines, and a lot of people that quote you can actually twist things to their advantage, you know, and it makes me look stupid. So, you know, and you got to remember, I talk to Steve all the time. As I said, I talked to him about 4 times yesterday while West Ham were playing. I spoke to him this morning about 3 times about West Ham. And it was 2020. It was in lockdown. And I realised that Bruce had said these things and the band were backing him. Fine. That's nothing to do with me. All I would say on social media is that I'm over the moon to be nominated.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that I feel, after all the years of hard work that I've done, not got very far, but I wouldn't change anything. But it's something that you should be proud of, and an achievement that most musicians would give their right arm for. I've been nominated. Okay. Next quote: if the band are not interested, I have to go along with their decision. It's nothing to do with me. The band decide with the management, and whatever they decide, I respect their decision. End of. Then it got a little bit silly because every year, 21, 22, whatever it was, Iron Maiden been nominated again. So I get thousands of messages on Messenger, on Facebook, Instagram. Oh, well, congratulations. Yes, thank you very much. So it's like Groundhog Day.
Yeah.
So you get to the point where, yes, I appreciate all your concerns. Yeah, it's, people say it's not worth voting for them because they don't want it. And all I've said before is, if they wanted it, if Maiden wanted to go into the Rock and Roll of Fame, the votes from South America alone would have took them into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It doesn't matter about the rest of the world. The fans in the South America, Rio, Brazil, Argentina, the fans over there, there's millions of them. So they would have voted Maiden in without anyone else in the world voting. But they didn't want it. So the same rules apply. Whatever the band decides, I respect that decision. That's done. So then this year, this summer, somewhere along the line, I suppose, to call an end of the feud or all the bad chat and whatever, and what Bruce has called them or whatever, it's still nothing to do with me. But at the end of the day, I see on social media, and I'm getting texts from all over the world saying, congratulations, you have been accepted and inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Great. Love it. It's my dream come true. Unfortunately, I won't be able to go because I have to respect the band's decision. So I wait. This is the 5th year or whatever, 2006. And so I'll wait. And nice little message from Rod on social media. Thank you for inducting us into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Unfortunately, the band will be in Brazil. Fine. If that's their decision, then I respect it and I have to go along with it. nothing to say about how excited I am. I have my own feelings. So does probably Blaze, and so Nico. But at the end of the day, if no one's going to go and accept the award, then no one goes. I think that they should send someone, whether it's
A
Rod.
representative, absolutely. Yeah.
Exactly. Other bands have done it. So send a representative. Send Nico, or send me, Blaze, and Nico, and let us enjoy the day. You know, there's a way around it to keep the peace. I can't help being excited and over the moon that I've been inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It's something to tell the grandchildren. But if the band don't want it and they don't want to accept it or they don't want to turn up, that's their decision, and I have to respect that. And so it goes round in circles like Groundhog Day. But yes, and I've not hid the fact that I am excited and I would love to go. Whether I can or can't is not my decision. But I would like to go. I think so would Blaze in the end. And if we can't go, then thank you anyway for being inducted. And I do hope somewhere along the line I get something to show the grandchildren to put up on the wall.
Oh well,
To put,
definitely get the award. They'll just gonna have to mail it to you.
yeah, probably come with its head broke or something like that. Through the mail.
Well,
I don't know.
let me ask you, Des. In all honesty, it would it be so bad that even if you didn't go up on stage, just to go and sit at a table, just to be there for the event of that night, that would you think that would piss people off also that you were even in the room?
Oh, I'm not allowed, and I have to be invited.
I'm saying since you're inducted and you're one of the names of getting the award, should you not be invited?
Well, I imagine so, but you wouldn't go behind the band's back or behind the management's back
Right.
and create even more friction. What I'd like to think would happen is that we may get a call or an email or something from the Maiden office to say, look, this is the situation. And same as when we did the film premiere the other Thursday, the other Tuesday. Dave Shack from the Maiden office phones me. He said, look, they want you to go to the premiere. Are you free? I went, yeah. Lovely. Thank you. Thank you. I'm proud to be there on the red carpet. Lovely. But because this is so important and it's near the end of your career, and you're not going to be playing much past the end of 75, 76, up to the age of 80. Who knows? But to go there and feel the atmosphere and the glitter and the hype, yeah, who wouldn't want to go? But I can't just go, and nor can
No,
Blaze just go.
absolutely, yeah.
Nico's over that way in Florida. I think he could probably talk to someone and hop on a plane. They wouldn't mind that. But it would be nice if they're not interested and they're going to be in Australia anyway, and Rod doesn't want to go. I can't see the problem why we can't go. But as I say, again, I'm fed up repeating these words every year. Is the band's decision,
Right.
and I respect that. If no one goes, I have to accept that.
Gotcha. Well, it's only November's a little bit ways away, so you never know what
Yeah, yeah,
miracles can happen.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right,
Yeah. I mean,
Dennis.
to be honest, tomorrow night Tottenham play Chelsea. If Chelsea beat Tottenham, it means that it's between West Ham and Tottenham for the last game of the season. Who goes down and who stays up? Now, the last game of the season next week, if West Ham win and Spurs lose, Tottenham, Spurs, they go down, West Ham stay up. That's when I might phone Steve and say, Steve, don't you think it's a good idea that I can get the award?
Plant the seed, Dennis.
He'll be cheering like me with West Ham.
Just plant the seed, and you never know what happens, right?
No, we won't know till next week. So.
All right. So ending the show now. Do you have anything to promote going forward in websites or anything? Have people want if you want people to contact you or reach it out?
Only to me, just I've got my Facebook is connected to the Instagram. All my stuff goes on there every week. I'm mostly, based in the UK around the Essex area, but there's loads of gigs coming up. We're all over the place with Maiden United. as I say, we're going to Japan, we're going to Chile, we're going to Australia. Maiden United are playing at Nebworth next in July, June or July. With Maiden, we're on the Friday night. But apart from that,
Oh, so
just
you're going to be part of the festival?
yeah, we
Oh,
played the night before.
fantastic!
Yeah. You've got all bands that were connected to Steve or to Maiden on the night before. So you got Stray, which is Steve's one of mine and Steve's favourite bands from the late '60s, early '70s. Stray, Del Bronham, and then you've got Maiden United, and then you've got Air Force, which is the guys Doug Sampson who used to play with Steve in Maiden before I went along, before we did the album. Um, and you've got a couple of other bands. Oh, and Blaze Bailey headlining it with his band. So it's all part of people that are connected to Steve and Maiden that are on the night
That's
before.
brilliant.
So, yeah, but as I say, just I'm on all the Facebook and Instagram. They can see where I am. You know, all the photographs are always on there every week. So yeah.
Dennis, yeah, truly a real honor. Thank you for even reaching out to me. I mean, I
Oh,
really
it's been
appreciate it.
fantastic. Didn't realise how long it was going on
I'm
for.
glad. Did you have a good time? That's what counts.
Yeah, and of course, yeah,
Thank
always,
you.
always.
Thank you.
You know,
And,
when you go
listen,
in depth with things.
you,
Lovely
you,
to see you
you
both.
have an open door policy. Anything to promote, please, reach out to us. Your family now,
No,
to
no
us.
problem. No
So,
problem, Paul. No problem.
thank you.
Tommy,
So,
see you soon, mate. Take
thank you.
care,
So I
Tommy.
want to thank everybody for being with us this time. Again, what an honor having Dennis Stratton. And check out our Facebook page, Hard Rock History Show on Facebook. And I'm Paulie Christine with my boy Tom. And thank you, Dennis. And keep rocking, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us.